Hi, and welcome to my YouTube channel. So I am Judy Graybill, relationship healer, certified step-family coach, and helping you go from conflict to connection to partnership. And today I have with me my dear friend, ShaRon Rea. She's a life coach, peacemaker, and conscious communications trainer. She's also the founder of the global movement, No Judgment, Just Love, which is what we're talking about today. And so for my audience, I just want to give you like the context for today's conversation. So this is kind of a one-off as far as project that I'm doing, because it's not like anything else that I'm working on. I've not done professional interviews like this before. I've not done podcasting. I'm open to it in the future. But so just for the audience sake, this is new. So bear with us if there's any technical issues. But so this scheduled topic, we came upon us like quite spontaneously. I mean, ShaRon and I have known each other for years, and our values have always aligned. How we approach our challenges and our respective coaching is very similar. And recently I promoted ShaRon's global movement, the No Judgment, Just Love, on my Instagram. And that's just because it's something I personally believe in. And it just got me thinking of what a loaded topic the whole thing of judgment is. And in my mind, I was hearing all the voices of, people all the time pointing at somebody else saying, oh, you're being judgmental, and very self-righteous kind of way. And then I thought of all the guilt and shame that people have around judging themselves because of the same rhetoric. So when ShaRon and I were talking over the phone about this movement and how important this is, this conversation just sprung to mind immediately. And I loved ShaRon's when I mentioned it to ShaRon to have a conversation, there was no hesitation. She's like, it's done. It was like, okay, let's do it. So that's the context for where we are today. That's how this came about. And so with that, I'm just going to tell you, because my audience is probably a little bit more familiar with me than you. So I'm going to share your bio. I read through it, and it's so true. It starts out, once you meet ShaRon, you'll discover she is a passionate woman on a serious mission to make the world a better place. As founder of the global movement, No Judgment, Just Love, ShaRon knows that judgments are human, and we judge all the time. Her message is meant to encourage people to practice no judgment, just love, which is choosing to move beyond judgments that divide, to consciously lead with love in your thoughts, words, and actions. And this will genuinely help us relate to each other. In her work as a life coach and owner of the Whole Family Coaching, ShaRon combines evidence-based tools with real-life effective relationship skills, helping families find solutions for the day-to-day challenges of raising teens, co-parenting after divorce, being a grandparent, raising grandchildren, fathers increasing their parenting skills, and every caregiver focused on raising responsible, self-confident, happy children. Her formula for success in all areas of life is centered on conscious communications, which is taking personal responsibility to listen with compassion and then speak with clarity, to do no harm, making it safe for everyone to express themselves. Every time I read that, I think, oh God, that's so me.
We are alike, aren't we, Judy?
Yes, we are. So, I mean, there's so many gems in there, but we only have a short time. So like what I would like to do next is just to start with your story. I mean, how did you get started with this? I mean, like what led you to here?
It's interesting. I live here in Scottsdale, Arizona, and the seat of our government is in Phoenix. And in a former life in New York, I used to be a lobbyist. So as an entrepreneur, that was something new for me. I didn't train for that. I just sort of fell into it. And of course, I was taking in everybody's suggestions. ShaRon, you have to have a tagline, something that really describes your business. And those 4 words just dropped in, Judy. No judgment, just love. And for me, as a new coach, that is exactly how I want people to feel, not judged and only accepted when they're trying to uncover their challenges and move through them. So I have a sofa over here when we were doing things in person, and people would come and sit on my comfy couch.
Nice. I love that.
And then I would listen to them. So in trying to deliver that message, I had to make sure I could actually personally live that message. And so in the seat of our government, as a lobbyist, there was a bill that was presented that really caused me to align with one side and really not with the other. And I realized that in order to find my way to less judgment about the other side, I couldn't do it as a human person with my human thoughts, because they were constantly judgmental. We judge all the time. So I had to rise up. Actually, I chose to rise up to what I term my GPS, which is my greatest personal shift.
I love that.
Right?
Yes.
And in those spaces, I was able to see value of the other side. Even though I continually disagreed, I said, wow, if they weren't there showing me what I disagree with, I may not have uncovered what I do agree with.
Right. Yes, yes, yes. I agree with that, because one of the things that I've often said about judgment, that why I feel like it's normal and it's okay, is because it helps us realize where our values lie.
Yes. Yes.
And one of the things that I've heard you say, is one thing that I felt too, is that it's not so much the judgment itself, it's what you do with that.
Yes. Exactly.
I read that on your website, and I'm like, yeah, that's me too. And because how many times have I said that? So I want to speak to that a little bit.
That
just the whole philosophy of judgment, and how it's normal, and how it could be that compass, like that GPS, how it can help us with our own GPS, our greatest personal shift. I like that.
Well, it's interesting because sometimes we go through life with just rote. Whatever we've done is what we do. And so we judge, we yell at people in front of us in our cars. We don't like it when we have to wait in line. We don't like how much there's so many things in our lives that cause us to debate. I don't like this, I do like that. And that's normal. We have to do that, because not only is it sometimes useful, well, that truck is coming really fast, so I need to judge whether I want to cross the street or not, right?
Right. I think maybe I don't want to drive that fast in the future,
Exactly. So I'm not asking people to not be human, because judgments are useful. What I'm asking is to find your own personal place where you can have less of a divide between everyone else. Because when you give yourself permission to place that person as a label on another side from you, it leads to you treating them unkindly. It leads to violence. It leads to anger. It leads to all those things that negative judgments can create, where we're separate from people.
Yeah. So that divide, like how I often think of it is like, what it does is it somehow, because they're different than us, we think they're less than us.
Exactly.
Right? So it sometimes unconsciously, and we don't realize we're doing it, we can be condescending to those people. And even if it's not to their face, even if it's not, directly to them, in our minds, we're thinking it.
Exactly.
And then the next time we interact with that person, it comes out subconsciously. It's very subtle at times, right?
Yes. And if you can pause, because that's what I really advocate, is have more pauses in your day. We've become this, where we just go, and we don't really think, we're just reacting. And what No Judgment, Just Love invites you to do is not to react, because when you react from what you just said, Judy, that negative opinion, that less than judgment you have about someone else. But when you take a pause and give yourself permission to just make a little space between that judgment, you can choose to treat people different. You can choose to have something different going on in your head about yourself.
Yeah,
And
and we have to be proactive about that. I mean, one of the
yes,
statistics I've read is that I want to say it's like 90 some percent of our thoughts are habitual, like
yes.
of our actions are habitual. It's just like they're so automatic. So we have to train ourselves to actually be self-aware and to be mindful.
And you know, when you judge, it's almost like a long, long time ago in cave time, we all were community and we valued each person that was different because they brought something different to the community so we could all survive. Now we don't really need a lot of different things from people, so it gives us too much permission to judge them as not needed, as not valued in our lives. And that is where I offer to go ahead and do that, but then quickly take a pause and see how close you can get to allowing those people to be who they are, not judging them as much, and just let them be.
I like what you said about, like just referring back to the cave time, the community, and just allowing people to, that's the community. What came to mind was synergy, because everybody brings something else to the table. And if we can view those differences as something that may be complementary, even if it's not complementary to me and my daily life right now, it's complementary to the world, the diversity in some way, shape, or
Yes.
form. So I actually, I have your pledge in front of me, which
Oh,
I
do you?
downloaded from your website.
Thank you.
And I want to read it to the people because they probably don't have it in front of them, although the link will be below. So I have that available to them, but I'm going to read it. And here's the pledge that that ShaRon has on her website. Inspire change with no judgment, just love. I pledge to know that we all judge, and that's human. It's what I do next that matters. I pledge to recognize when I'm judging harshly, pause, and change to something different. I pledge to know I don't have to understand everyone. I can just allow and let them be. I pledge to be the joyful expression of forgiveness and truly let things go. I pledge to open my heart and live in ways that inspire others to live with no judgment, just love. And then you have your website. And I love this pledge, and I think that it's important, and I want to encourage people to follow the link to go to your website to take the pledge, because this is going to, if we live this, like you said, then we're going to inspire other people to live that way. And we can't judge them if they're not living this way.
And I was just going to say that there's no judgment on the judging.
Right. Thank you. I told you we are aligned. It's like you're me.
I love it.
So, but what I want to do next, I want to segue into how we apply this to our everyday lives, because the people who listen to me and the people who, like my clients, are everyday average people who are just very good intention and trying to make their way through this world. This is not about the big, woo-woo sticky subjects. This is about our everyday relationships. So
Yes.
how can we apply this to our everyday relationships? It could be our romantic partner, it could be a coworker, it could be our children, it could be our in-laws, maybe the ex-spouse. And as a life coach, you've dealt with all of those too, because you deal with the whole family. So so I just thought of a few examples that I feel that have come up in my world with people I've talked to, with the clients and friends and family, that have come up repeatedly. And one of them is playing excessive video games. Like, how can we apply the no judgment, just love to, like, maybe a child who is on their computer all the time? Could be social media,
Yeah.
or it's playing video games, which are big and growing, and some parents see this as an addiction. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, we can give ourselves permission, and we often don't, to make the stableness of ourselves how we feel. And so if the stableness of you is a peaceful place, anything off center of that is a clue. Something is off. And so when you're finding that your children are consistently on whatever it is, the telephone, the computer, their video games, that's a little off from what you believe is the peaceful place, the foundational place. So there's a number of things. The first is, go ahead and judge it. What the heck are you doing? You're on that computer all the time. Oh my goodness, please go through all that. Because if you don't, just like Judy said, it will come out when you're trying to communicate with them. So blah, 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 get it all out.
Right. Yes, that's true.
And then take a pause. And in the pause, I invite you to consider a couple of things. The first thing is, who is this child that you know so far? Is this a child that has been doing this for years and years and years without stop? So it may have become an addiction? Because as we know, hopefully, our brains are developing, and our children especially, and what they repeat gets connected. So if they repeat the activity of being online too long and too much, it's going to connect their brains that that's okay to do. Is this a child who is having a tough time at school, and this is a distraction for them, or a tough time in their family? Maybe you're becoming blended, maybe you're getting divorced, maybe you're moving. And so they're using this as a tool to help soothe them. So in that pause, kind of uncover what you think might be going on. And then if you have already created, let's say it's a teenager, you have already created healthy conversations with each other, I invite you to have an ask conversation. And what I mean by that is, hey, I see you're on the computer a lot. It's kind of frustrating to me, but it might not be frustrating to you. Can you tell me more? Get them to open up, right? But if you have not had a wonderful conversation road with your teen, this is not the time to start when you're trying to correct their behavior. I'm going to pause there.
Actually, you gave so many gems there. Those are great tips. So I could probably have a whole conversation on that, but but I will leave that with the audience because there's a few other things. One, because we have a short time. The next item is spending or misspending money. And I see this a lot. I mean, this is so huge in not just in blended families, but even in first families. I mean, just like the whole money conversation. And then of course, after divorce, it's like how your ex spends the money also. So it's multifaceted with regard to all the money issues. And so this is a big one that causes a lot of judgment.
Yes, it is. And the judgment is real because as each one of us wants everybody in our world to act like we do. It's not realistic,
right?
But it's what we hope for. Why don't you talk like I do? Spend your money like I do. Well, it's just not happening. It's not real life. So once again, do the whole thing. Judge away. Do it in private. Get it all out. And then take that pause. And I want to share a quick story about me when I took the pause about spending money. We were in a position where I realized the person I was with was spending money not like I liked. I got to see the bills and I saw what they were spending it on, and I'm like, oh, no, no, no. And so I did my thing, and we were getting ready to have a phone call about it because I had already preempted by saying, this is a problem. We're going to have a conversation. And so I went off and I did my pause because I was just learning how to live with no judgment, just love. And in that pause, here's my thought. Well, I spend money the way I like, and I don't ask permission. This person could spend money the way they're like. They're an adult, and they don't need to ask my permission. I don't like the way they're spending it, but they have the right to spend it the way they choose. And here is an opportunity for us to have a conversation about what our values are. and how we can come to peace with that. I'm going to have to give a little. They're going to have to give a little if we're to come to some agreement, because already we're very far apart.
I like that for multiple different reasons. First of all, I love the fact that you allow for people to have those judgment feelings, to themselves and get that out, because I think that a lot of times what people do, they suppress those, and that's not healthy.
Right.
Or they rationalize it away, like they discount it as if it's not important, like nothing's going to change of it anyway, so I should just keep this to myself.
Oh,
And
yeah.
right, that creates all kinds of other issues. So that's one thing I really like about all your examples. So that's a constant with yours. But the other thing is you allow for like how you create that introspection and you revert back to yourself, like, well, this is what I do, so how is that different or the same, or like, and how can we meet in the middle? So I really love the whole meeting in the middle, because that's something that I advocate with my clients as well. And it's sometimes easier said than done. I get that, but we have to recognize that that's possible. And a lot of times people think that it's not possible, so they don't even try.
Right.
So I love the fact that you're talking about it. And it does start with our pause and our introspection on our own, ourselves. And then
Exactly.
we can stop judging ourselves. And that actually allows us to also not judge our partners, because how we treat ourselves ultimately gets reflected in how we see our partners.
Absolutely. And in the pledge that you read, and thank you so much for doing that, Judy. The third pledge is, I pledge that I don't need to understand everything. I can just allow and let it be. And so if I spend all my time trying to understand why they spent the money here and why they didn't tell, you're not in your peaceful place. You're not in your calm place. You're in this judgmental vortex that you just can't get out of. And you cannot find the middle ground there, because you're constantly judging to the negative. And so it's so important to be able to be honest with yourself. I'm not telling myself a lie to get there. I don't want to lie to me.
Right, exactly.
Like you said, I don't want to suppress it. I don't want to discount it. It's real for me. And so be real with yourself. Give yourself that respect, that what you feel matters, and then just figure out how to do what with it.
I love that. And that's what I advocate too. So I love hearing you say that, and I agree with everything. So like one other example that's really big in the blended family world, is co-parenting. And in blended families, I mean, it is judging your spouse, like whether you're the step parent and you're judging how the biological parent is, or you're the biological parent judging the step parent, your partner, or the ex-spouse. I mean, there's judgment. All three of those people are judging each other.
Yes.
So some of these feel really personal, and because a lot of times parents and step parents, they believe that how the other person is raising the kids or parenting is going to screw up the kids.
Yes.
So that's part of the reason why I think that causes judgment. And, I just want to speak to that for a couple minutes. I mean, because this is big. And of course, I would like to hear your point of view on this, because like I said, I know that you're also a life coach and you help with families too. So what are your thoughts on how to apply the no judgment, just love in this kind of scenario?
This is enormous, Judy, what you just outlined. And there are so many components, and we only have a few minutes, so I can't go through all of them. But the very first thing, and the place where I invite everyone to start, is with you. Because when you feel confident about your parenting, and most of us don't, and when you feel confident about your decision making, and some of us don't, when you feel confident that wherever is the place that this blended family has started, you have done your part up to this moment with your children. And even if you haven't, you now get to figure out how to do your part with this blended family. The judgment begins with more love for yourself.
I love that.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
No, I was pausing for that reason.
Okay. So there's so many gems in what you just said. So one is like being confident in your own parenting, and most parents aren't. And it reminded me of something, a resource that I shared. Like every Monday, I share my Judy recommends on Instagram. And one week I shared this book, Mommy Guilt.
Ah.
Yes, and because it was based on real research. I can't remember exactly how many people were surveyed. It was like in the thousands, like 1,500 or something. And it was like 90 some percent of parents feel guilty. And most of them were moms, but there were some dads that were interviewed as well. So that's huge. Like just feeling guilty just about yelling at your kids and all that stuff. And so feeling confident in how you parent, I think, is really important. And the second thing I would say is that's true too, because I always say that like you can be the stronger role model for your kids than that other parent. And especially when it comes to the ex, you know? So as long as if you're confident about how you show up regularly, regardless of what the other parent or step parent, ex parent does, then you're going to have that influence with your kids. So there's that. So, but the confidence in yourself comes down to you can't judge yourself, right?
Yes. Hello. But we do all the time. And that again is okay. And that more pauses, just take a lot of breaths when you're in a blend film. Just breathe a lot. It's really, and
Yes.
try to take in the information, move it around in your own perfect, special way that will get you to peace and away from anger and away from resentment. And so, I mean, I have so many things in my head. I'm trying to ask them to calm down so I can say them. The first thing is all of us, whether we realize it or not, are worthy. And many women, many parents don't believe they're worthy. That's why Judy and I are here to help give you tools to know that you can be confident in your decision-making with your children. The second thing is, and this is the challenge of no judgment, just love, everyone who has stepped into this blended family is worthy.
Yes.
Just like you.
Yes.
They may not be behaving the way you would like them to behave, but they at their core are worthy. And if you can find your moments of peace to look past what you don't like and remember everyone has value, it will cause you to interact with them a little differently. The other thing I want to say is your children will benefit from whatever kind of parenting is in front of them, as long as you, like Judy said, find your confidence, show what you want your family value to look like instilled in your children, without talking negatively about any other parenting style, but take that information in and give a conversation with your child, especially if they're a teenager. Now you have to do this age appropriately, whether they're little kids or adults, but you want to instill value in them to the other parent, even though you don't like what they're doing, because they're going to be around them when you're not.
Right. I don't even know what to add to that. That was perfect.
You can tell I've been thinking about this a little while, huh? And experiencing it too, let me tell you.
Yes. So yeah, we both have our own individual experiences with all of this. But one thing I think that it comes down to is really always comes down to ourselves, how we lead, and part of your pledge is that. And you mentioned in your bio that that's to inspire us to lead with love in our hearts. And when we're feeling love and we're feeling worthiness for ourselves, and we see other people as worthy, then that allows us to, our words, our actions will follow how we feel and that worthiness.
Absolutely. And for those of you who might be listening saying, love, such a wishy-washy word. I'm not going to love everybody. Well, I'm giving you permission to redefine love for yourself. Love is respect. Love is compassion. Love is kindness. Love is allowance. Love is peace. Love is joy. Love is bliss. So if you're having challenges with the word love, replace it with any of those and think of your own.
That's a perfect place to end it. I mean, right? We can end the whole thing here.
Thank you, Judy.
Right? But that's I just want to tweet that. But yeah, we actually are at the end of our time together. So let's just talk about how people can help your movement and where people can go. I will be sharing those links, but just what can people do to help this movement, and how can what can they do?
Well, I'm gonna agree with Judy. Please do go to my website, www.njjl.world, and download the pledge. It's yours, it's free. And if you can, post it so you can live by it. But I'm gonna tag on with Judy about, I wish I could tweet that. So I'm on Instagram and I'm on Facebook. I'm also on Twitter as well. If you find yourself in a no judgment, just love situation and you have overcome it, or you're even asking a question about it, tweet out with no judgment, just love world, and tell us what you want. Because I'll be able to see that and know that this movement is really going global.
Yes. Okay. Yes. And I can do that as well. So yeah, and you also have a free gift. So let's talk about your free gift so that they can,
Yes.
I'm going to share that link too, that they can download. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, I'm all about giving the gifts. We want gifts all the time, right? So every time I do something, there's got to be a gift. So obviously the pledge is a gift, but I also have written a children's coloring journal book called No Judgment, Just Love. Duh. And it's for children of all ages, but especially our little ones. And what it is written in the style of my favorite author, Dr. Seuss. So there is a beautiful coloring page by Laura Thurbin, who is a master artist. And then there's a little poem by me written in the style of Dr. Seuss, helping our children understand how to live with no judgment, just love for themselves. Fun poems. So you get a free coloring page of one of the images and one of the poems to color and download from Judy's website.
Right. And I love the fact that parents can do that with their kids.
Yes.
Because they're teaching. And I love that rhyme too. I won't spoil it for the listeners, but I thought that the rhyme was great because it's also illustrating how the meet midway, which is one of the things, like I said, that I advocate, but you also say that a lot. The no judgment is about meeting halfway, each person bring. So it's a whole teaching tool. So it's an activity, but it's also a teaching tool. So it's a wonderful free gift. And I
just want to say one thing quick, Judy.
Yes.
There's no judgment, just love for how you color, because these books come in a left-handed version and a right-handed version. So the lefties don't have to smudge and the righties know what they're coloring.
That is awesome. I love the fact that you thought of that because not everybody would. So yeah, that is available. I'm having all those links available. And I guess that's it for today. Thank you so much, ShaRon, for being here with me. Thank you, listeners, for showing up. And I'm not sure when, listeners, you're listening to this, but know that this offer is not going away. So this is timeless. So no matter when you're listening to it, that gift will be available. These links will be available. And please do share the hashtag no judgment, just love world. Share your stories and hashtag us with it. And I guess that's it. Do you have any other last words?
Just have the most amazing day, which leads to the amazing year, which leads to an outstanding life. And try and incorporate no judgment, just love.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And with that, I will bid adieu to everybody until the next time.